Why hello there, and welcome back to another Shuffle Junkies, back in Shadowverse, and we got another Grand Prix going on, this one in the unlimited format, which I'm a big fan of. I really like the massive pool of cards. It's just a crazy place, and you also have way more deck variety. Often when you're playing in Unlimited, you could bump into all sorts of deck archetypes you haven't really seen for a while. There's some classics that you remember, some new ones. Everyone's always experimenting. It's a pretty fun place, I think. This is the deck we're going to be looking at, but we'll talk more about this at the end of the video. First, let's look at some gameplay of the deck. You may recall when I did the last Grand Prix, which was in rotation, it was entirely Havencraft. Every opponent was Havencraft, I was Havencraft, Havencraft all the way down. This time, a lot more variety, which is nice. Although the first day I played, my opponents were entirely Swordcraft. But this time I played while I was doing this deck, all different opponents. Very nice. Anyway, the deck we're playing here is a heavy burn deck. The idea being, we want to ping our opponent's face with our minions, but most of the damage we're going to do is going to be through spells. Mysteria, Magic Founder, being where most of that spell damage is going to come from. Every spell we cast will have increased damage by 1, thanks to her leader effect ability. Everything else in the deck is just here to either be a spell that does damage, have card draw, or just get us to stay alive. So Witch of Foresight draws a spell, Bellringer, early game taunt, when it dies, draws a card. Our good Unicorn Dancer over here, her job is exclusively to heal us, just to give us a little bit of extra life sustain. But the deck is pretty straightforward. It's burn your opponent down with spells. If they play minions, remove their minions with spells. Seems like our opponent is playing what I would assume is Roach, the variant that plays with, wait, what's your stupid name? Elfchild May. I ran a version that used her for a while, but I found that Goblin Mage, if you remove everything that costs 2 or less unless it's Roach, then Goblin Mage will always pull the Roach, which is just better. It's really what you want. So we're up against a control deck that has Massive Burst, which is very similar to what we're doing. We're also a control deck with Massive Burst. Our burst, however, comes in the form of spells and not minions. Go ahead and get rid of that. And another fun thing about this deck is you could really change it to suit your needs. Like, do you want to play this with more taunt? Then put in some taunts. Ooh, never mind, Altered Fate. It looks like we're up against a Path to Purgatory deck. That's exciting. I do enjoy Purgatory decks. I'm not terribly concerned, though. Right now, every spell we cast does 2 additional damage, which means this spell will do 5 damage. So for 1 mana, 5 damage worth of spell. Dance of Death. This will remove a minion and do 4 damage to our opponent's face. This is going to do 5 damage to 1 minion and then 3 damage to everything, including our opponent's face. Whoop! Slap the microphone. I love doing that. Even Magic Missile here will do 3 damage. However, we do need to be fast. They are at 25 shadows. They need 5 more. And then they will begin the Purgatory train. But thanks to Time Worn Mage Levi, who was a great combination with Mysteria, this is 10 damage for 2 mana. I just want to start piling on the hurt here. And it's over. They cannot do 20 damage in 1 turn. The worst they could do is 12 damage. But they don't have the second Path to Purgatory. Yeah, they saw the writing on the wall. Alright, Swordcraft. So as you saw in the last matchup there, if your opponent happens to be running a control deck, the benefit for what we're doing on our side of the board is minions are not how we win. It's almost entirely spell damage that we get to win through. So most control decks are going to try and remove your minions, they're going to be looking for their win condition, and we can beat them speed-wise. We have enough burn damage, and if we draw Mysteria, it just ramps up the speed. A lot of our spells will hurt our opponent's minions and our opponent. We have Piercing Rune, we have Angelic Barrage, we have that removal spell that cost 5 I cast in the last game that I already forgot the name of, because it rotated away and now I forgot everything. Point being, we are faster than a lot of control decks. If we're up against Runecraft, we need to be faster than their Chimera or their Dimensional Shifts. If we're up against Sword, they don't really have a huge burst situation, except for Levi. Or wait, Levi. That doesn't sound right. Oh man. I should have really paid attention to everything I was supposed to pay attention to before starting this recording. I'll remember his name one day, you know. 3 attack Storm on 9. He has attack twice. Whatever his stupid name is. Anyway, now they made a fool of myself. Continuing right along. Idea, of course, just burn them down. And if you are able to get a Mysteria in your opening hands, hold on to it. Don't hold on to 2, that's a little bit greedy. Unless you know your opponent's probably going to be playing a slower deck, then maybe. But usually you could draw into the second one. We haven't seen her yet, but there's another important card in this deck. She'll show up one day. Alright. Mysteria and Angelic Snipe will take care of our Bane minion here. That's the thing, we have so much removal and so much face damage that it really doesn't matter what our opponents do, and enough draw to always have a decently sized hand. I don't know what they were thinking with that one. This is the one you probably wanted to evolve. Aha, there's our buddy Levi. Man, I was very sad when he rotated out. He used to carry so many of my decks. Anyway, we didn't evolve him to trade, we evolved him exclusively to get that 5 damage. Leaving a nice 4 body on the board here. And they're only at 11 health. They're going to want to trade. And that's what they're gonna do. As for damage, I think we have enough. Aw, another Time Worn. So, they're at 8, their next turn's 9, they have an Evo point. Putting the ward down means if they do have that card, whose name I forgot, it is not Leonidas, we prevent ourselves from taking 10 damage. So, that's why I was holding on to this ward the whole time. Alright, we win. This is doing 5 damage, this is doing 4 damage. We could have done Staff or Angelic Barrage. We had options for how to win there. Alright, how about some Dragoncraft? Ooh, those are nice sleeves. I like those. Alright, we want to get rid of... Well, we already did our thing. I was like, oh, get rid of Chain Lightning, but we drew that after mulliganing something else. So Chain Lightning can save your life. I keep it in the deck for that reason. I'm thinking about reducing it down to just having 1 copy of Chain Lightning. Because the idea being, if you play this when you only have 3 or less cards, and it's turn 10, that's 6 damage. Of course, if you have Mysteria in play earlier on, that could be anywhere from 6 damage to, let's think here. Could be 12 damage. If we play all 3 Mysterias. That is a waste of a Salamander. Anyway, they're very clearly playing Lindworm here. which means we need to outrace them. So I want to draw more cards. A nice thing would be to hold on to... Ooh, Dragon Claw Pendant. I guess I really haven't seen much Lindworm in Unlimited, so I haven't really considered the different cards you could put in that deck now. I should make an Unlimited Lindworm deck. Anyway, point being, the only thing we need rewards for when it comes to Lindworm is the new legendary, whose name... Zoe. We need a taunt for Zoe. Lindworm ignores taunts, Zoe does not. The real problem with Zoe is going to be the immunity they'll have for one turn. We'll basically be sitting here not able to do anything because all of our spells are pretty much here for the face. Wizards of Oz finally showed up. This is the other important legendary in the deck. Because if we don't have, say, the damage boosting potential of Mysteria, we need speed just to whip through a bunch of spells and do a lot of damage fast. Wizardess will reduce all of our spells in cost, so they cost 1, making that possible. I want to make sure I can win next turn, so unless they heal, which they can do, but they don't, they think a ward is going to save them. I don't think they were paying attention to how the deck worked up until now. Alright, and now we just choose 3 spells at random in our hand and we win. We'll go with Demonic Strike, Chain Lightning. The end. Now for my favorite opponent. Vengeance Blood is such a great matchup for us. They tend to hide behind wards, they reduce their own health total to 10 or less, and then they try and burst you down. That doesn't work against us. Reducing your own health just means we win faster. So I love matching up with Vengeance Blood. And you can always tell it's Vengeance Blood if their first move is this card right here. Spiderweb Imp. It's not exclusive to Vengeance, but it's almost always in Vengeance. Die or Bond. You see, this is what I'm talking about. They're already down to 12. I don't think they're ready for just how much damage is going to be coming their way very soon. Because that heal, it's slow, and the damage is fast. Another one. Again, doesn't matter to us. Time Worn Mage, please. Getting ourselves set up for an easy lethal in just a turn or two. Because again, they're looking at their wards and they're thinking, oh, they can't get that much damage through. I believe they make a horrible choice in a second. No, not this turn. Or is it this turn? It is this turn. They do another Dire Bond. Not a great plan. Like you Oh boy, I don't think they considered that I could evolve this for 4 damage. And they know I have a Crimson Sorcery in hand. I mean, this is someone that has to have won at least 3 of the Grand Prix matches to be matched up with me, I imagine. Oh well, poor guy. Last but not least, Shadowcraft. I do love how fast this deck is too. You just whip through opponents pretty quick. You get rid of their minions, you just burn their face down. Everything that you play that's a minion is really just for trading purposes. Hold on to Angelic Snipe, no reason to ping them for 1 on turn 1. This could get rid of a minion later on, or after Mysteria is played, it'll just go up in value. Now we're holding on to Bellringer because I want to be pushing some face damage through. We want to start the process, because the lower they are, the faster we win. So, Definitely want to do that. Bellringer's a nice play here, because they'll waste their attacks. They'll probably end up sacrificing this to get rid of this, to draw some cards. There it is, Demon Eater. To be fair, their deck probably has 6 cards at very least that do that. Kill a thing and then draw cards. 3 Demon Eaters, 3 Siphon Souls or Soul something. I am sleep deprived beyond belief. I have no short-term or long-term memory anymore. So unless the words are here on the cards or over here, I will forget what they're called. Soul Conversion! There we go, I remembered. So yeah, 6 cards that sacrifice a minion to draw, and then of course there's Necro Assassin and a few other things that will kill their own minions. Go ahead, evolve and trade here. Again, this isn't four-face, it's really just here to soak up attacks from our opponent. Little Soul Squasher. Oh, that's great. That is perfect. So, the thing I like about a nice full board like this is Staff of the Whirlwinds will now wipe the board clean. They are playing very aggressively, though, which could be a problem. But we also just pulled into Wizardess, which means we'll do a ping here for 2 damage. So we got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 damage in hand. Now we have more than that. Alright. Reason why I'm aggressively dumping my hand is we'll finally see Wizardess do her job. I guess we've already seen it, but we haven't seen it with the card draw. She will draw 5 cards and then discount all the spells in your hand. I believe we just won. Oh yes. 1,000,000% have we won. Chain Lightning alone is doing 4 damage. But I've never seen turn 10 with this deck. Well, there you have it. That was my 5-game Grand Prix in Unlimited. At least Phase 1. I imagine by the time this is going up, Phase 2 will have started. Regardless, let's talk about the deck a little bit. As you saw, it is a very aggressive burn deck. The idea is we have a lot of spells, 23 of them, and all of them are here to burn our opponent's face. We generally don't worry too much about removing minions with spells unless that spell does something to our opponent's face as well. So Dance of Death, single target removal, does damage to the face. Piercing Rune does damage to a minion, does damage to our opponent. Angelic Barrage does damage to everything. Staff of the Whirlwinds does damage to everything. So those are the spells we use for our opponent's minions. If they have more than 1 minion, we go for the board clear style ones. If they have single targets, we go for the single target things. So that allows us to remove, but also continue the face damage train. And then we have the single target spells. Angelic Snipe, you could ping minions if you need to get rid of them. Although the real joy of Angelic Snipe is as we're playing our Mysteria Magic Founder, this is just going to increase in value, so it's nice to hold on to sometimes. And of course, we should talk about the star of the deck. Mysteria Magic Founder is the backbone of the deck. The idea is we want to play as many of her as we can. We want to get all of those lovely leader effects, which increase our damage, and then we just destroy everybody. I would say Loki might be a fun tech into this deck to double the battle cry so you can get 2 additional bits of damage off of her. But as you saw, we win the game on or before turn 8 most of the time. Loki is just straight up too slow. The most expensive card in this deck is a 5 cost for that very reason. We don't really want to worry too much about trying to wait until 8 to maximize value. That just increases the odds our opponent can win. We want to win before them. So, I probably wouldn't advise putting a Loki in there unless you want to really tech this for slower play. So that's what Mysteria is here for. She's our damage output. We already talked about Staff of the Whirlwinds for a nice board clear, Dance of Death, single target removal, but still hurting our opponent's face. Chain Lightning, I have 3 in here. I'm probably going to take out 1 or 2 of these. It's just that for 5, only doing 3 isn't that great. After a couple of Mysterias, it's good. The real benefit to Chain Lightning is if it is dragging into the late game, you're out of cards in your hand, you have a Chain Lightning, you could cast it twice in one turn. With Mysteria, that could close out the game. That might be all you need. So it is a good card for that reason, but 3 of them might be a little bit too slow. There are other spells we could put in here that are arguably better. Another Dance of Death is probably good. Honestly, maybe a little bit more card draw. There are a lot of other things Chain Lightning could be, but for now it's working fine. Wizards of Oz is our insurance policy against an empty hand. If we have no cards, we play Wizardess, she draws us 5 cards. And then all the spells in our hand reduce down to 1. Which means we could just shotgun, rapid fire these spells at our opponent's face. Of course, if she dies, all the spells in our hands are banished. But we don't really have to worry about that because we're going to play those spells. It's the whole point of the deck is to just whip through spells and destroy our opponent. Demonic Strike is a pretty good one. It's not the best cost to damage ratio for a spell for 3 damage, but after Mysteria is played, if you play 2 Mysterias, that's 4 for 5 damage. Suddenly pretty good. And also, you know, there aren't that many spells that are just pure burn. This one's pure burn, so we need it. Piercing Rune we've talked about a little bit, but a thing we didn't talk about is if we evolve a minion, this reduces in cost from 4 to 2. Why is that good? Because of Time-Worn Mage Levi. He is our sole evolve target, unless we need to trade to stay alive, in which case Mysteria is a pretty good one for that. But just on a general basis, we want to evolve as many of our Time-Worn Mages as we can, and that's because we get a Crimson Sorcery. It is a 1-cost spell that does 3 damage to our opponent, which is great. It is such a good value. But more importantly, as you saw, if we play a couple of Mysterias, that's 1 mana for 4 damage, or 5 damage, or 6 damage. It's absurd. It's such a good spell that you always want to evolve our Time-Worn Mages. Goblin Mage is here to pull any of the other minions, because there's such a small amount of minions in the deck that we kind of need to ensure we have some of them, because you need a board presence, otherwise you're going to be beaten down. Some of that's going to get you card draw from our Bellringers, some of it will get us just bodies in the case of Lyriel. Unicorn over here, Unica, that's going to get some heals, and Witch of Foresight is just additional card draw. So Goblin Mage is basically just here to pull other cards. Magic Missile is here to draw us cards, but also to ping damage. And again, after Mysteria, just goes up in value. Witch of Foresight, just here to pull a random spell from our deck. There's obviously a lot of those for it to pull. Lyriel is... it's a target for evolution if you need it to be. Because if we evolve it, we get to ping 1 damage. That can remove a minion that you need to get rid of. Or it could be that 1 point of face damage that you need to close out the game. So don't count Lyriel out just because she is a 2/2. She could save your life. Time-Worn Mage, I already talked about, most important card in the world. Bellringer Angel is just here to be a card to slow our opponent down a little bit, but more importantly to draw us a card. I already talked about Unica a little bit. She's just here to heal us ever so slightly. It's basically like having a ward in a lot of ways. Your opponent will typically want to get rid of her just because they don't want you healing. Angelic Snipe is a fantastic card for 1, does 1 damage, and of course with our Mysteria, this will just go up in damage, making it more and more important as we go on. As you've seen in those clips, some of those matches were only won because we have so many Angelic Snipes. It's just a lot of damage for us to pull out of nowhere, but just have them in our hand. And unfortunately, you're only allowed to have 1 Mysteria knowledge in an unlimited deck. Otherwise, there would be 3 of them here. The hope, of course, is to get Mysteria Missile for additional remove minion, deal face damage. So that, right there, is our Mysterian Burn deck, which I like a lot. It's a lot of fun. I don't think other people like it that much because, much like Magic the Gathering, it's like playing against that person who has a red deck and all they do is fireball you to the face, Crimson Axe to the face, just all those dumb, cheap red spells that do face damage that you can't stop unless you have a counterspell. And since there is no counterspell in Shadowverse, they just can't stop us. We could just do as much face damage with our magic as we want. So if you're looking for a fun Runecraft deck to play and you've been like, oh, I don't know what to do with my Mysterias or Wizardesses, there you go. Throw them both in here, you have a fun deck. Anyway, I hope you had fun. Maybe give this deck a try. If you have ideas for substitutions, like, hey, maybe we'll get rid of some Chain Lightnings. We could probably get rid of Witch of Foresight and Unica. There's a few things we could swap in and out. What would you put in here? Honestly, this is the same deck loadout from the previous expansion. I haven't actually changed any of the cards in here from the new set, which I really should. So maybe I'll take a look at that and update this deck a little bit more. But we've never looked at this deck on the channel before, so I wanted to take a look at it. Anyway, hit me with ideas, let me know what you want to see. And also, if there are any card interactions you've always been curious about, let me know. I'm going to start looking into those, because I'm also curious about some fringe card interactions that I've never seen happen before. So, yeah, comment below, let me know. Anyway, hope you had fun, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.